Am I the a-hole for refusing to train my replacement after I gave notice when I found out they're paying her more than me? I, 32 female, have been working as a senior graphic designer at a mid-sized marketing firm for the past 5 years. I've always taken pride in my work. I've brought in major clients, led multiple high-profile campaigns, and even won a few industry awards. I genuinely believed my contributions mattered. Over the past 3 years, I've asked for a raise twice. Both times, I was told that while my performance was outstanding, there were budget constraints. Instead, I received a token 2 to 3% cost of living increase each year. I accepted it at the time, thinking loyalty and consistency would eventually pay off. 2 weeks ago, I finally decided to move on. I accepted an offer from another company that pays significantly more and offers better growth opportunities. I handed in my 2 weeks' notice, and my boss acted understanding. He even said he appreciated the professional courtesy. I figured I'd wrap things up smoothly, leave on good terms, and move forward. Yesterday, however, he introduced me to my replacement, Jessica. He asked if I could spend my final days training her and getting her up to speed on my accounts, workflows, and design systems. I agreed at first. That's pretty standard, and I had no reason to be petty. Then Jessica and I went out for coffee to talk about the role. She was friendly and seemed genuinely excited. In the middle of our chat, she mentioned how thrilled she was about the salary they offered her, and then casually told me the exact number. My jaw nearly hit the table. She's making $15,000 more than I was for the same position at the same firm with less than 2 years of experience. When I got back to the office, I asked my boss directly if what she said was true. He looked visibly uncomfortable and said, "Well, the market has changed," followed by, "We had to offer competitive rates to attract new talent." I asked him point blank, "So you had the budget for a competitive salary, just not to keep me?" He didn't have an answer. I told him I'd finish out my own tasks, but wouldn't be training Jessica. I'm not sabotaging anyone, but I refuse to go above and beyond for a company that clearly didn't value me enough to pay fairly. Honestly, I think that's more than justified. Now for the top comments. Happened to me. I was showing a new engineer the ropes. He was from our industry, but wasn't familiar with our equipment. I found out he was paid more money than me, and I refused to provide any more help or training. I told all my workmates, and they took the same stance. My manager accused me of creating a hostile work environment. I asked why he was paying a new hire more, and he had no answer. We got our union involved, and after a short work to rule, we all received a pay rise. Congrats on making a real change for all your colleagues. This is the power of workers, and I love hearing these kinds of stories. We have to advocate for ourselves. No one else will. If you're not talented enough for what they're paying her, then you aren't talented enough to train her. Exactly. The audacity to even ask me about training. Until now, it still makes my blood boil. It happens more than you realize. Don't take it personally. Complete your 2 weeks and then move on to a better job with a higher salary. Hopefully your new company has a better name in the business. That always feels good. Exactly. They only get loyal till they see a bigger number on someone else's check. Loyalty don't pay bills. Do your 2 weeks. Dip clean. Let them train their own mess next time. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to cover my co-worker's shift after she lied about why she needed time off? I've worked at my job for almost 3 years now, and I've always been known as the reliable one. I'm the person everyone goes to when they need someone to cover a shift, swap schedules, or help meet deadlines. I don't mind helping, as long as people are honest about it. Last month, my coworker Jenna asked if I could cover 2 of her weekend shifts. She said her grandmother had suddenly fallen ill and she needed to be with family. Of course I said yes without thinking twice. I even canceled some personal plans because I didn't want her to stress while dealing with something serious. Well, fast forward to the following week. I open Instagram, and guess who's posting stories from a 3-day music festival out of town? Jenna. I thought maybe it was old footage, but the posts were clearly time-stamped, and mutual coworkers commented things like, "You look amazing. So glad you finally made it." When I asked her about it, she first laughed and said, "Oh, you weren't supposed to see that." Then she told me she just really needed a break and that I wouldn't have agreed if she'd told the truth. I was shocked by how casual she was about lying. I told her I'd help others when I can, but I won't be covering for her again, especially after that. She rolled her eyes and told me to relax, because it's not that deep. Now she's telling other co-workers I'm selfish and don't know how to have fun. A few people have hinted that I should just let it go since it's not a big deal. But to me, it feels like a major breach of trust. Am I the a-hole for refusing to ever cover for her again, even if she actually does have a real emergency next time? Not the a-hole. Never cover for her again. I would also never cover again for the co-workers who are telling you to let it go. They are telling on themselves with their attitudes. They have likely taken advantage of you too. This similar situation worked in a retail bakery back when I was studying. One coworker would constantly call in saying they couldn't make it for the closing shift, so I always ended up staying back. To be honest, the overtime was great, but eventually it wears thin, so I told them either come in or you have to find someone not working that day to cover. I'll be leaving at 4. Either be there or I close the store and call the boss. Never called in again. Here's what you do. And I had this happen years ago with a female coworker who would always use the fact that she had kids as the reason we should cover for her. And what I told her eventually was that, to me, sitting home on my butt doing absolutely nothing was more important than her spending time with her kids. Not the a-hole. If she asks again, tell her you already have your own concert tickets. You literally canceled your own plans for this. Not the a-hole. Tell people, look, politely, I had my own plans, and I had to cancel them because she used the lie of her nan falling ill and needing to be with family to guilt-trip me into covering her shift and canceling my fun. So I won't be covering any shifts for her anymore, as I feel this was a breach of trust and is very toxic and narcissistic behavior to lie so easily and without remorse about such a serious topic. And I would rather be out having fun too, rather than enabling a psychopath. She should do things on her day off or plan better in advance, as everyone else has to. P.S. Ignore the bits and brackets. Just funnier and the honestly truthful answer you should say, but will probably not be received well. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to share my work files after being laid off and rehired as a contractor? I, 29 female, worked for a small architecture firm for 4 years, handling client proposals, design drafts, and managing several long-term projects. It wasn't glamorous, but it was steady work, and I took pride in it. About 2 months ago, the company announced a restructuring, and several of us were laid off. It hurt. I'd given a lot to that place, but at least they offered severance. I decided to pivot into freelancing, which turned out better than I expected. I had a few returning clients and was starting to feel confident running my own projects. Then last week, my old boss called out of the blue. He said they were overwhelmed with unfinished work and asked if I'd consider coming back, but only as a contractor. He framed it like an opportunity, flexibility, autonomy, all that. I agreed to a short-term contract just to finish the projects I'd originally started. I figured it would be an easy transition and a good way to maintain professional ties. That's when things started getting weird. A few days in, they asked me to hand over all of my design files from the past year, including ones from after my layoff. When I asked why, my boss said those designs were based on ideas developed during employment and therefore belonged to the company. The thing is, those newer designs were created entirely during my freelance period for different clients, using my own equipment and software. None of it involved the firm's resources or contacts. I told him no, those were my intellectual property. He got defensive fast, saying I was being vindictive and holding company work hostage. I reminded him those files weren't theirs to begin with. The conversation ended with him saying I was burning bridges and that the architecture world is small. Now, they're threatening not to renew my short-term contract. My boyfriend thinks I should just give them the files to keep the peace. But honestly, it feels wrong. Those designs are my livelihood, the foundation of my freelance career. Giving them away would mean giving up my independence and letting them exploit work they didn't commission or pay for. I've worked too hard to let that happen again. Now I'm stuck wondering, am I being stubborn and risking my reputation, or am I right to stand my ground and protect my work? Your boyfriend is an idiot, not the a-hole. Tell them if they are accusing you of stealing that you'll sue them for defamation, so they better watch what they say because you don't respond to threats. To be clear, I'm referring to your freelancing work, which is clearly legally yours. Anyone that says keep the peace will get burnt more times than not. Not all conflict is bad, and sometimes absolutely needed. Because they aren't talking about the peace of the person being asked to do something. They are always talking about the peace of the person doing the asking. It's always about the person asked being the bigger person, which I say, eat my shorts. Not the a-hole. They don't own your work after you were laid off. Period. Once they ended your employment and paid severance, that was the end of your obligation to them. Anything you created after that point, especially for different clients and using your own time and tools, belongs entirely to you. Exactly right. Once they laid OP off, that relationship ended. They don't get to come back and demand ownership over work done afterward. OP's well within their rights to keep their files and protect their boundaries. They brought you back as a contractor to get your work products. They will drop you again as soon as they can after getting their hands on your intellectual property. I'm not saying your boyfriend has no idea what he's talking about, but he apparently has never been misused by an employer and is a bit too trusting in my opinion. Last story. Am I the a-hole for finally asking for the apartment back after my niece's temporary stay turned into 4 years? Okay, so a little bit of background. My parents own a 3-apartment house. I live on the main floor with them. My sister is on the second, and my niece, her daughter, has the top floor. That top apartment was actually supposed to be mine originally. I even helped pick stuff out when they remodeled it. But when it was done, my niece moved in for a while. And that was like 4 years ago. I didn't say much because I didn't want drama. Figured it'd be temporary, but it's been years and I still have no space of my own. Meanwhile, I'm the one here helping my parents with everything. Bills, chores, appointments, whatever. Because they're getting older and need more help. The whole reason I was supposed to have that apartment is so I could be close by and still have some privacy. My niece makes good money. She could totally afford her own place nearby. I can't right now. Then recently, she started dating an old friend of mine, someone I really don't want in my life anymore. She brought him over without saying anything, and it honestly pissed me off. I know I can't control who she dates, but I don't think it's crazy to be uncomfortable about it. She also dated my best friend before, and I lost that friendship when it ended. And her mom, my sister, has a secret thing going on with my other best friend's married dad that's probably gonna explode eventually. And somehow I was the one everyone got mad at for being upset. So yeah, it's been a lot. Anyway, I finally texted her and said I need the apartment. Told her I've waited long enough. I'm not trying to screw her over or make her move tomorrow, but it's time to start planning because I need my own space. Also said just please let me know if she's bringing that guy over. Instead of just talking to me about it, she ran and told her mom, who told my mom, and the next morning I wake up to my parents already mad at me. My dad said I can't tell her to move out and he won't either. So basically nothing changes and I just have to deal with it. Now everyone's acting like I'm selfish or trying to start crap. I love my family, but I'm honestly just done being the one who has to keep quiet and live uncomfortably so everyone else can feel fine. So am I the a-hole for finally saying I need the apartment back and that I'm not okay with how things are? For the record, the problem isn't her dating that guy or bringing him to her place. The problem is her bringing him into my home without even a warning. I'm also aware that I have the option to move out, and I'm looking into that. But I do care deeply about my parents and don't want to leave them alone. And since people are confused, both me and my niece do pay rent for our spaces. Not the a-hole. Move out. Let your sister and niece take over your responsibilities. Don't even give warning. Find a place, have some friends come help you pack up and move when everyone's out of the house. And just go. They will never see your side of things. They have trained you to be a doormat. Nothing you say will change their minds, and you will always be in the wrong in their eyes. Time to take care of yourself and move out and move on. I hope OP reads your comment 1,000 times. It's so very clear and obvious. Every family has a person like OP who constantly gets taken advantage of. Get out, OP. Now's the perfect time. Everyone sucks here. You should have talked to your parents, who own the house and are letting everyone live there. You also should have talked to your niece in person. I guarantee you, no one but you has been thinking that your niece has been living in your apartment for 4 years. Everyone else thought that different arrangements were discussed, and then your parents gave the place to their granddaughter. The time to object would have been then. It's wild that you just texted her saying give it back. We're talking about her home of 4 years, not a shirt she borrowed. They haven't been great to you either. Not at all, and I'm sorry for that. But you guys are operating from different sets of facts, and everyone needs to get on the same page. First up, you need to talk about how everyone in the house is going to pitch in equally, financially and care-wise, to take care of your parents. If they say you have to move out to get your own space, that's their prerogative. But you need to calmly make it clear that living there comes with additional responsibilities your sister and niece will need to shoulder. On the second part, it's totally fair to ask for a heads up on guests that upset you. Asking for a heads up so you can make yourself scarce is not banning someone from the house. It's a healthy way to navigate the situation. Nah, it's not your call to make. If you were promised that apartment, it's for them to fulfill the promise in exchange for you taking care of them. If you don't like the situation, stop taking care of them. Get a regular job and save to move into your own place. If your parents don't like it, they can start an eviction process, which should take just long enough for you to get your own apartment. Your sister and niece can be the caregivers. And stop paying rent in the meantime to save up. What are they going to do? By the time they can start to evict, you could possibly have down payment fees, etc. saved up.